I listened to the pastor, and the pastor says this. He says that a mature Christian is one that allows a process. If God's putting them through a process, it's not about give me, give me, give me. It's about make me. And that when we go to God and we want him to do something, and we're doing whatever he's calling us to do because we want something, like it's attached to end goal. Like, okay, God, I'm gonna pray, I'm gonna fast, I want the job. And as soon as you get the job or you don't get the job, you give up. He says that that's not covenant, that's manipulation. He said, when you go to God and all you're going to God for, or you're praying, or you're fasting, or you're doing all these God, like to hear God type of stuff, and he knows your heart. He knows the motivations of our heart. He tests those things. He's saying that if it's a mission, like I want this, so I'm going to you because I just want this. When you get it or you don't, you give up on it. And he's like, again, that is not relationship. That's not covenant. That's not a genuine relationship with God. That is manipulation. That is you trying to manipulate a higher power to get what you want. And I had to sit in that daggone seat. And I was like, yeah, I did that. And it brought me back to the bottom of the map where God showed me I've been in this process before. One thing I have to say that I think is beautiful is that God is a God that spins the block. That, yes, I didn't steward that last season well. I didn't do the right thing, right? I didn't. I mean, and y'all, it wasn't even worth it. That's the part, man. That is the part. Like, I'm like, it wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, the enemy makes things look so good. Like, you're missing out on so much. Like, you know how you, like, if you've ever been in a situation where you're like, I'm not going to drink, or I'm not going to go to the club, or I'm not going to do this. And when you're not going, it seems like the thing to do. It seems like, oh my gosh, life is being lived and I'm not living it. Right? Like, you're like, oh my gosh, like everybody going to the club, everybody out. Like, I'm by myself, like reading the Bible. Like, I'm missing out on life. Y'all, and then you go. Thank you, Trey Sean. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all for those who are giving. But it's like, then you go into that environment and you're like, this really ain't it. Like, this, I just could have stayed home. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying? Like, we make it because we're not in it. We think it's like oh my gosh, like, oh, everybody living. Oh my God, like, what's happening? Like, it's like, it wasn't even all that. It wasn't even all that. Like you watching people get drunk, fall over themselves, people twerking and working. You know what I'm saying? You just, you over here, you're like, okay, this is actually kind of whack. I really could have just stayed home, ate my snacks, watched my TV, and saved me some daggone money and time. Right? Like, that's what I'm saying, right? Anyway, same thing here, family. Same concept. So it was a mirage, right? And a lot of times the enemy creates really good mirages, and it gets you to a place where you really think you're missing out on something you're not missing out on. You're in a desert. You're thinking that, oh, I'm missing out on so much, and it's a mirage. It's not real. It looks like a waterfall. It's actually a puddle. A puddle that's about to dry up. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, I digress. The second thing that my pastor says is that in that wilderness, so I'm telling you guys how I failed the first one. The first one, which is I gave up. That's how I failed. It wasn't even that I half-stepped obedience. It was the half-stepping obedience got me to give up when it looked like nothing was going to happen. Like what I wanted wasn't going to happen. And I gave up and I just went to my own devices. That's how I failed. So now in this one, I'm going full throttle with God because that conviction really got to me. And the reason why it got to me so much was that like, God has been so faithful to me, y'all. Like God has really, I've seen so much in my life and God has blessed me abundantly. I look back at that season of my life and even though I failed, even though I gave up on what God was doing in my life, he still provided for me. He still sustained me, even though I went my own way. And it was broken. It wasn't right, but he still was there. He was still present for me. And so like, I'm not the type of person that likes being around people that I don't feel like are genuine. That's not a thing for me. I'm very suspicious of people's motivations at times. And so for me, when I am in this position and I'm like, I'm not being genuine with God. Like the reason why I'm controlling this, the reason why I'm chronically worrying about what he's promising me, the reason why I'm so concerned about what it looks like is because A, I don't trust him, and B, I'm in it for that. Like I'm so rigid, I'm so inflexible about how this is going to go and what it's going to look like that I can't fully give it all to God. Like I can't fully surrender it. Like it's like, okay, well, is it going to look like this? Is it going to look like that? I just was confronted with a core wound that I struggle with so much. And I didn't even realize it. I'm being honest with you. I didn't even realize it. Like, I didn't realize how deep this wound was for me. And so when the pastor kept talking, he was like, this season of our lives when we're being, some of us are doing Lent or some of us are like giving things up in order to focus on a relationship with God. And so for me, I'm honoring Lent. I'm doing Lent. I see that in this season, we can allow God to make us. And it's not the wilderness, the past season of my life wasn't to punish me. It was to prepare me. It was to prepare me. It was to grow something in me and heal parts of me that I had not like that no one could fix. That I didn't even know was broken. I've been living my life a certain way all this time, not even realizing how much brokenness is within me. That I'm over here trying to give up on something, and all he's trying to do is make me better. All he's trying to do is take me to the next level, and I'm over here fighting it. I'm fighting the stream because of my trust issues, because of my childhood trauma, because of the things that I've learned how to manage through therapy, but I have not healed. That's the truth. It's the real truth. And so as I'm like going through this process and I'm like struggling, through it, I realized in that moment, the reason why this process was so hard for me was because I hadn't fully surrendered the process. That when God gives us a promise, the promise is not for us to hold on to. It's not for us to like, like try to hold. It's like it's for us to open up with a hand. Like it's supposed to be like an open hand promise. And you surrender it. You trust that if God promised this, he's going to take care of it. He's going to see it through. Whatever it's going to look like, it's going to be the best thing for me. That I've made my own decisions and I've chosen my own way. And it's time for me to truly trust the only being at this point right now that I have. That God has given me something, and he's given me a relationship with him, a real one, a genuine one, where I hear him and I feel him. Like I feel the promptings. I know his voice. Those are things that I can't buy. You know how many people want? You can have all the money in the world, but you don't have a relationship with your God. You have no peace. You can do backstrokes in multiple pools all over the world. But you ain't got no peace. You're not fulfilled. You're always stressed about something. It's a lack of a connection. You could be materially wealthy and spiritually broke. And so for me, it was like, once I surrendered that, and I was like, God, I trust you, man. I want to know you. I want to know you. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be the very person that I'm trying to avoid. And y'all, I felt a peace fall over me that I can't explain. I went through, 8 episodes of this thing from John Bevere called The Wilderness. And I learned about what the wilderness is, what it's about. What does God want from me in the wilderness? What does he want from me? What do you want, God? Whatever you want, it's not like you're not going to have to fight me. I'm just going to be obedient. And God, y'all, I can't tell you the doors that have opened. I can't tell you the peace that I've had. I can't tell you just the synchronicities that I've experienced. There's things that he's just telling me, like, don't do this, don't do that. And I'm like, okay. And every time I do it, it's like an excitement I have. And I'm like, why am I excited about this? Like, why? Like, why am I doing it's like, I can't explain. Like, life is exciting. Life is fulfilling.